Why do you fall for toxicity after a childhood trauma? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 most common consequences of experiencing childhood trauma and how this early experience can shape and affect your entire life and especially your romantic relationships. The goal of the video is to bring your awareness to those things so that hopefully this helps you change a bit the trajectory of your life, because whatever unfair and horrible thing happened to you as a child, I really hope you find the strength in you and the self-love in you to change the narrative. So this beginning, this horrible chapter, is not the entire story of your lifetime. Obsessing over unavailable people is probably the most common side effect of childhood trauma. And to make it even more specific, you fall in love with people who don't love you back. It's this unconscious desire to bring some balance, as if making your partner love you will somehow fix the unfairness of having one of your parents or both of them not truly loving you when you were just a child and you needed it the most. The parent may not be alive anymore or has completely disappointed you and failed as a parent. So this direct relationship is not fixable anymore. So the indirect relationship with the partner is your way to fix this broken part of you. And here is the first question to you. That's my psychology coaching background, that I always try to have a dialogue. Even if you succeed to complete that transformation, this unavailable, hot and cold, kind of there but not really there, inattentive person, if this person becomes the sweet, loving, caring person that you've always wanted them to be and you kind of wanted your parents to be, even if you succeed, would that truly be the love story you were hoping for? And to bring it back to the situation, being in a relationship with an unavailable person, those people usually are very good at just giving enough to keep you hooked. And in fact, this hot and cold behavior is quite addictive. For the most part, you feel unloved, neglected, not that important to your partner as they are to you. It is not really mutual. However, there are those temporary perfect moments when they give you the love and affection that you want, and then you have the high of dopamine, and this becomes really addictive. You're chasing that high over and over again, and that can last for years. However, have you realized that no matter what they do, it is always your reaction to their behavior that is the problem? You bring up how upset you are and how you feel, and the fight becomes about this, because you shouldn't be feeling that way. And you tolerate this because it's kind of familiar. In your childhood, there was a parent or both of them who were not accepting your big emotions, your needs as a child. How dare you act like a child when you're 10 years old, for example? So you're used to being dismissed, your feelings to be invalidated, and you and your reactions to be the problem, and your brain sees that familiarity and kind of stays with it, because your brain's primary goal is to keep you alive. We are wired for survival. Your brain will not take the extra step to make you happy. It will just make sure that you're alive. And when it's familiar pattern or behavior, then it's easier to predict what will come next. And when that is the case, for your brain, is a bit more comfortable, safe environment. I know what to expect. I can control this. Let's stay here. The unfamiliar is scary, even when to you, growing up with toxic parents or very difficult environment, what is unfamiliar and unknown and strange and odd is loving, caring, thoughtful people. And if you don't recognize this and heal from the whole experience that you had, naturally your brain will always stick with the familiar hell. One more thing to mention with the obsession over unloving people is, because of your childhood trauma, you are probably used to feeling worth it when you did the right thing. You know, your parents were liking you when you were a good girl or a good boy. You did the right thing. And every single time when you failed to do the right thing, you misbehaved, you were emotional, you didn't perform excellent, you were dismissed, you were sent to your room, you were made to feel like you're bothering them, or you were literally physically or emotionally abused for every single mistake you made. What did you learn from this? That your worth is attached to your achievements. And also that you are somebody when somebody chooses you. So you want to be chosen in order to feel like you're worth it, you're anyhow a good person. And in a relationship, how that translates is that you are a lot more focused into your partner liking you, and you kind of forget to even think, do you like them? And to take this one step even further, you may not be even interested or feeling comfortable in healthy relationships with somebody who loves you. You need somebody who reminds you of your parents in order to be able to repair that broken part of you. And a healthy relationship kind of feels like something is missing. The toxicity is missing, and it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel natural. It's not normal. You can see how this is self-sabotaging you. So I really hope right now, if you're recognizing some of your behaviors in this, you sit back, pause the video, and just reflect on this and see how can you slowly, step by step, change that narrative and that reaction that is very natural, very understanding, but yet damaging to you. The second most common result of a childhood trauma is that you are seeing the good in people all the time. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt a bit too much. And you see that general potential in somebody that could be true. Everybody has some good traits and some kindness to them, of course, but you see this a bit too much and ignore how they personally treat you. And on top of that, because you're used to the misbehavior towards you, you kind of enable it. So a person who is having bad and good qualities may actually treat you personally worse than they treat other people, because with others they cannot afford it, but with you it's possible. And they fall into their easy behavior, in their own reactions, because they receive the unconditional, loyal, caring love from you on the low price of disrespect. And very rarely ever people will wake up one day, realize that they have been mistreating you and decide to change just because it's the right thing to do. Normally they don't. They continue to do whatever they have been doing if they continue to receive the same thing. And I think it's very important for you to understand where this is coming from in your own behavior if you are to change it. Your parents created this dissonance in you. They were the ones who gave you life. They were supposed to love you and protect you. They were not supposed to be the ones who hurt you. But if that is the case, then you created this conflict in yourself. Well, they created the conflict and you try to resolve it. So you try to see the good in them. And normally that's a good thing, to try and understand somebody else's context and be like, okay, well, maybe their parents were also really horrible at being parents, or maybe their environment was really difficult and that's why they were behaving so aggressively towards you or so emotionally neglecting you. Okay, understanding this is good for forgiving them, and forgiving them is good for your own healing. It's not about them. Forgiving your parents is about giving peace to yourself. However, the consequence of this is that you're really good at seeing the good in others, understanding their context, excusing their behavior, not creating boundaries, and ending up in relationships that are really mimicking this childhood experience. It is a good thing to be able to see the good in everybody. It's very noble of you if you can do that. But learn to draw boundaries for both parties' sake. Most common consequence of childhood trauma, number 3, is that you are actually not fully accepting yourself. When your parents were loving the well-performing child and are punishing the child who is making any mistakes. So every single time when you had some weakness, some misbehavior, you were punished one way or another. Okay, so you have learned that there are good things about you that deserve love and admiration and respect, and there are bad things about you that are not acceptable. They were never accepted. Specifically, let's say your big emotions, how dare you? You're too sensitive. You cry like a baby. You are clumsy. You are too distracted. You're chaotic. You talk too much or you don't talk enough. Whatever you were doing that they were not liking was not acceptable. That's why they were punishing you for that. But you're still this person. So every single time in your adult life, when you're displaying those unacceptable behaviors, you actually hate it. And what happens in romantic relationships is that when you find a partner who resembles some of those bad behaviors that you have in them, you punish them for that. It's kind of like unconsciously thinking, when I was a child, I was not allowed to do that. I was hurt physically or emotionally because I was doing this. And now your partner is an adult. How dares he think he can do those same behaviors and get away with it? That's not fair. It doesn't sound really logical when you hear it, but again, if you stop the video and if you think about it, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna recognize, at least some of you, of course not every single thing is applicable to every single person, but for some of you, it will be easy to see in your behavior such patterns. And of course, the judgment towards others that you have, that you cannot accept those weaknesses. It's not about them at all. You have to learn to accept yourself, be able to draw the line. Hey, I have a weakness and I would like to work on it and improve on it. Okay? Versus, I hate this about myself. There's a line between this. You can improve yourself and still love and accept who you are and not hate it. This is extreme. You have learned this as a child, and unfortunately you are in this situation where you have to unlearn. And to be honest, on a neurological level, it is impossible to ever forget what you have learned as a child. What is possible is to learn a second way to react, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. One thing I want to add to those of you who struggle to accept themselves: usually the unacceptable, horrible part about you after a childhood trauma is your emotionality. So what you do in relationships is that actually you are the emotionally unavailable person. You shut down when you have those big feelings because you are taught to believe that they are the problem. When you go through some issues, depression or anything that is really difficult, what you have learned to do is go to your room or just survive it and handle it on your own. And that's what you do in relationships. And it's very difficult for your partner to keep the connection, to feel like you are a team when you withdraw every single time when things get tough, when you get emotional, when things are difficult. Even if it's not about them, if it's something that bothers you personally, you still behave the same way. So here's the second question to you. Just because you can survive everything on your own, do you really always have to? Can you give a chance to another person to be with you in the darkness before you dismiss that it's not gonna help, they cannot do anything about you? Before you make the decision for them, give them a chance. Maybe you have to explain to them what you need as well. Maybe you have to verbalize your needs, but give them a chance before you cancel it out. Because when you don't, this is actually the self-rejection behavior that is obviously not good for you. And the four most common situation after childhood trauma is that you may see social isolation the same as being healed. So you withdraw from society when things get too much and you go to your comfort of your own home or just space, and you kind of like self-sufficient, and in that bubble you feel safe, your emotions are regulated. And if you stay in this for, let's say, 5 years. I'm not saying you never see people, but you stay away from relationships and you kind of live a bit more introverted life. And you feel like during that time you have healed. Well, there's nothing to trigger you. So of course. And then you decide, I'm ready to go back into the world and meet people and start dating again, for example. And then the triggers come back. And you feel like this entire period of time, those 5 years, when you have worked on yourself, it's for nothing. And when you feel triggered again, this is like a betrayal to all your personal growth, to all your effort that you've made. You feel like you've failed. Well, here is the deal. You cannot heal childhood trauma just with time. Doesn't matter how much time has passed. 5 years or 50 years. What has been broken and hurt inside you as a child will bleed until you heal, and that healing will not happen naturally just because time has passed, and it will not happen because you isolated yourself from others. People make us and people break us. We are social creatures, and at the end of the day, we do need to feel connected, even if it's just a few people. You don't need the crowd. Sometimes one person is enough. Sometimes a small group of people, 2 or 3 friends is enough. The point though is that through others, we feel pain, but we also heal. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you start working towards actual healing. Bottom line of all this is give yourself a real chance. As I said earlier, it is not possible to completely unlearn what you have learned as a child. However, it is possible to learn another way of responding. And actually, this is the very good moment to make a difference between reaction and response. Reaction is automatic behavior. Something happens, like a trigger happens, and you react with what you know best. And what you know best is what you have done most of the time. A response is thinking, giving yourself 2 minutes even before you respond. And the whole point of healing is learning another way to respond to the same situation. Something happened in your childhood, and there are ways that you have learned to behave, to react when things don't go your way, to react to people who are angry with you, to react to people who are unavailable to you. Okay, you have a package of tools and behaviors, and you have learned this very well. That's your reaction. It will always be in you. However, you're a beautiful, conscious, intelligent creature that can learn with time something else. And if you give yourself the time to think, then you can choose, would I like to go with this behavior? Would I like to go with this behavior? It is not possible that you always go with the, let's say, healthy or better behavior. But the fact that you have learned an alternative means that sometimes you go with that. And the more often you go with that, the easier it will become. So eventually it may be actually your automatic response to go with the new learned behavior. I truly hope that this video gave you some reassurance, hope, and validation. Whatever really happened to you as a child, please do not let it be the whole story of your life. You didn't deserve that. It was difficult. I'm sure whatever it was horrible. But back then you didn't have a choice. And now, although it's a difficult choice, learning is not easy, healing is not easy. Okay, it's difficult, I get it, it takes time, okay. But at the end of the day, if it changes the rest of your life, then it's worth it. That's the best gift you can give yourself to change the narrative of your life. Thanks for watching. And if you want to watch another video on childhood trauma that seems to resonate with a lot of people, I'm gonna leave the link somewhere here. Thank you, bye.